What's going on?
Hello, Tech Ads here with you. Welcome. I'm on my laptop tonight, so excuse the audio or the
It's
visuals.
not too bad, actually.
Not too bad. All
No,
right.
it's all right.
The old Surface Pro coming into its own for a change. Well,
Yeah,
welcome to a special Wednesday night update. Tex and Ads here with you after whew, what a ride, what a chaotic little few days we have had, and
yeah.
lots of activity in the Discord and people asking questions. Do I sell now? What are we buying? People using child's voice pre-recorders things to predict the ends of the world. It's all been happening inside the Discord as of late. So good times. But here we are. So here we are on this demand. That demand being respected really, really well. Gravy Train. Well, Gravy Train speaking for itself. And stick around in the next 24 hours. We're going to have a very special announcement, which we're going to announce inside the Discord. So if you haven't had a chance yet, click on that link below. Come into our Discord 100% free, and you will see exactly what Gravy Train is and exactly what we are going to share with the world. Really, 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 really excited about that. So, yeah, bounce off this demand here, Ads. Well and truly sort of back on track by the looks of this, but certainly not getting too excited, at least until we breach that 50 RSI. We know the significance of that level there. Really, for myself, I was looking between sort of 53 to 54 as a potential level here for either closing out my spot longs that I bought on that demand level on Bitcoin and LTC back around the early 180, sort of mid 175 or 170 levels where I laid in some entries. And it's good. We've been getting lots of messages over the last couple of days from people who are starting now to employ this dollar cost averaging strategy that we've been talking about, where they're getting nice little buys on those significant levels throughout these drops. So whether it is that you're layering out of positions or adding to positions, I've been doing a little bit of a combination of both. It plays dividends in these types of scenarios. So yeah, looking like potentially this weak supply zone around that 53 to 54 level may be the one to watch at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree with that. There's a couple of things that we need to really look at if we're going to look at the weaker levels in terms of supply or supply and demand in general. So, currently, in the way of supplies and demands go, as far as supply and demands go, we've got two levels to really look for. In terms of our demand levels, they're the two here. I wasn't exactly sure which ones we'd really test, 45 or 44. Very, very close together. So either side of those two levels, it's really going to be anyone's guess. So we did get respected on the $45,000 level of demand there, and it's very small. You could probably nip it up a whole little bit, but we've got a zone a little bit further down. So I just left it as is. But in terms of the level above us, in terms of the level of supply, we've got really a couple of levels to look for. We've got the level that I've drawn in currently at 53 to 54, as Ty did mention just a moment ago. And then, of course, we do have our next one, which is of higher quality, should I add, at 57. So we're looking at two levels really currently at the moment. There you go. I can use English, but we've got 54 to 53 and we've got 57 to 58. We need to really rally back up to 53 and 54 and make some meaningful levels in there and break back into our gravy train cloud, which will more than likely extend to the right hand side as we are, approaching that level. And of course, we've got the 200% in terms of our Fibonacci extension level at 52k, pretty much there as well. So there's a couple of things that are really, coming to fruition when it comes to these levels that we're looking for. We've got fibs, we've got our gravy train cloud, we've got our level of supply, all marrying up nicely at the 53k mark. The only thing that might stand in its way is something that I mentioned today in the Discord, which is the 50 median average line for the RSI. That might pose a little bit of a threat to us returning back to the mean at 53k, I reckon.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Gravy Train outlines it really, really,
It
really
does.
well. And we see this more often than not when we get these severe wicks, or even when we get these wicks to the downside and these quick buy ups. When we do head back down towards these sorts of levels, that they're often very close to where the original sort of carnage began, whether it be a double bottom or slightly below or slightly above. And you see it when we get wicks to the upside as well. There's all this buying, all this selling, and then all these quick buy ups, and then we have these sort of dead cat bounces or these double bottom bounces towards these particular levels. So this sort of pattern is becoming more and more common on the way up. And don't forget that 25, 35, 40% dips in this upwards momentum that we've been seeing since sort of 10K is still very common. It just looks more profound because we're having swings from 58,000 to 48,000, whereas beforehand it was, 15,000 to 10,000 or 10,000 to 6,000 or whatever it is that it might be. So, don't get discouraged just because we've had these, what sounds so crazy to be $10,000 moves. This is all still part of an upwards trend at this stage until really proven otherwise. So it's not so much about freaking out. It's about looking at these as opportunities to certainly buy lower if you believe in the overall vision of Bitcoin and crypto, that we are going to continue back up. And we saw that Jack Dorsey, the owner and CEO of Twitter's company Square, purchased another couple $100 million or $137 million worth of BTC during this dip. We're now seeing the likes of BlackRock get into the game as well. Who else? Gene Simmons from Kiss was talking about buying a shitload of ADA the other day. He would have got absolutely wrecked. But no doubt. But it's this mainstream adoption, and it takes me back to the CRO days of Floyd Mayweather and DJ Khaled. These influencers getting into the space that brings that retail money into it. And these are the guys that are going to capitulate during these types of moves. So, the strong hands are the ones that prevail during this one. And that's why, as we said, we take profits on the way up and we set our stop losses and we buy dips on the way down when the market opportunity like this presents itself. So don't get discouraged. Look at this as a better opportunity to buy lower if that's what you believe in.
Absolutely. And, we had pre-warning, I guess, if you're looking at any sort of trending indicator, like our trend breaker would have given you a fair amount of warning towards, the top at 58. We were saying a pullback is necessary. I was specifically outlining the 2618 as we were describing in the last couple of updates. Of course, I did mention a movement to the downside towards our 272, and of course our level of demand that was down here at the time. We exceeded that expectation, but plenty of warning nonetheless. Gravy Train is going to give everyone a little bit more of an insight into how the markets work, and of course a little bit more x-ray vision in the way of when to get out and when to protect your capital. Like I did describe last night on the update, the 1 hour time frame was paying a lot of dividends for Gravy Train. Of course, the stop long did come at around 56. So if you were looking and paying attention to Gravy Train, as I did describe it in the Discord, I did share some screenshots in there. We're looking like a movement to the downside at 46, 45K was going to be a possibility looking at this indicator. So it's going to be an interesting one over the next little bit. Like we did say, we're looking at around 54 to 53K currently, if we can get above this 50 RSI. And of course, if you don't know about Steamroller, we've been speaking about it for quite some time. Like Ty did mention, more than likely tomorrow evening Melbourne time, we'll be releasing the first bits of information, and of course you could probably get your hands on it shortly after that, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I've not been this excited to release something in a really long time. So very, very excited to get some of this into some people's hands. So let's get in now to F and LTC. Not looking at too many others at the moment. When things like this occur, those really are my three staple trades: F, LTC in particular. And BTC as well, and I'll dabble in the odd one. I have been in an ADA position since a little bit lower, and sometimes I look at some of the other ones. There's a lot of hype around Tomo at the moment. I'm not going to dive into these, but Tomo XRP is always one to look at, which actually held up quite well during this. But I was a little bit surprised by that. That's the USD version, mind you. And yeah, there's some sweet looking little short term trades across the board. You just got to know where to look. But again, if you're unsure, look towards these three big, the three big bangers, the F, LTC, and BTC. All right, F. Didn't quite get to that supply. We got just front run that little bit, but looking at that 61.8 was really, really well respected where we had that sort of double, triple bottom almost, if you want to call that, three pretty wild candles from 1,400 up to 1,500, $100 swings. And then here we are now with a nice little candle wick and a buy up from this area now. But clearly, as you've highlighted there within that supply zone, and again, gravy train right on the money, giving us the stop long almost literally at the top there. That sort of 16 let's say sort of 1700 to 1800 level is going to be the one to break. And if we were to break inside it, again, the beauty of gravy train is that we may have a rejection, a break in, a sort of a retest at the bottom of the cloud, and then we make our way up. And that's a really beautiful gravy train play there if we can get a confirmed break above that 18 and a hold of that level. So yeah, interesting times at the moment. I am looking to just start to take profit and scale out of some of my positions, and I got it around 1500, 1550. Around this level on the off chance that we reject from here. And although we've seen some nice recoveries across the market, you can't get too excited after moves like this. It really is worth sacrificing a few dollars to let the market tell you whether we have had a confirmed bottom and we are now going to start breaking to the upside, or whether this is, a bit of tomfoolery going on. But ultimately, again, the 50 RSI steamroller looking really nice there, giving really the perfect entry signal. And we're at a bit of an inflection point here, Ads.
We are. Look, Ethereum painting very similar picture to BTC, to be honest with you. We did have a movement to an upside. We did have Gravy Train telling us that, the long was meant to be stopped. And of course, we did have not so much of a violent dump for Ethereum, but we did have a movement to the downside. Like you said, we did get front run off this level of demand down here. However, that's why I always have fibs on the chart as well, yeah? 38, 50, 61, the golden three levels for us in terms of Fibonacci, 61.8 being the level that's most respected. I've said that multiple times so far. And of course, that came to fruition this time around as well. I did pick up some ETH, full transparency on that. I did share this chart this afternoon again in the Discord. I was looking at Gravy Train's cloud paired up against this level of supply. You can see that supply being formed just on this candle there at the 23.6, and of course that swing, very, very low time frame swing that we've got here. So being a low time frame swing, again, it's going to give us another low quality level of supply there. So the top level at $2,000 where we had that top, of course, up in this area here, highlighted by Gravy Train's top cloud as well, is going to be the higher quality level. So if we can push through this level back into the cloud and of course come up and retest that 2K mark, that would be the highest quality. And of course the swing movement, what I mean by that is you have a swing low, of course, at 61, and of course the swing back up, or the market cycle to continue, would be back up at the $2,000 level. So it would be, somewhat of an achievable level of supply at 2,000. However, as Ty said, you need to keep your expectations in a reasonable, or at a reasonable level. So if, for example, like I've bought off the 61, and I just had this discussion in the Discord with another gentleman, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to even split your targets between the two levels of supply, even if you're taking 33, and letting a 34% stop loss ride behind you, or even a 50 and 50% level run that way too. So that way, if you're taking profit on one, you can have a stop loss for the rest, or you can take profit on both, however you want to play it. But that's always a possibility, and that's always a play that I always take, Ty, I think.
Yeah, it's also, you've also got to be mindful that we could be, could be sort of range bound for the time. If this sort of becomes a reaccumulation range, a distribution range, more likely than not a reaccumulation range. But you got to understand that even if BTC were to head sideways for a while, that would be a bit of a blessing as well, because it would allow the other coins to start running again. So yeah, don't get disheveled by this, and wait for the market to tell you where it's going before you start making any rash decisions on getting too deep in positions.
Absolutely.
All right, quick one. LTC, let's have a little bit of a look. I am in LTC. I definitely bought around that 170 level. You know I did. And I'm enjoying what we're getting out of this so far. But again, that sort of 202 to 210 level is going to be significant for me, in my opinion. I really want to see the reaction we get there. Similar to, again, F and BTC. Steamroller giving us a really beautiful oversold signal. That was a pretty decent catalyst for me. If we...
Oh, I'm getting a little bit of a technical difficulty with
Unicorn over 4 hours.
Beautiful. Start again, bro. There you go.
There we go. Lovely. I love it when that happens. If we bang Unicorn on this channel, I definitely bought some around that 170 level. Unicorn was on LTC and on F, really, really good signals there. We could see the top of the Murrays. We hit a couple of times and we got that short signal up at around that 230 level. That's where I started scaling out, but I really want to see what happens around this this supply level, which you can also see lines up really, really well with not only our slower MA, but also our fib, which is sort of our 50 fib level for this Murray's zone.
Yeah, absolutely. If I chuck on Gravy Train again, sorry for that, I was basing this level of supply on this pivot point. Again, very similar structure to Ethereum. We're looking at a pivot point at 200, as Ty did mention, and of course the start of the Gravy Train cloud, and of course our higher zone up the top here for our more higher quality, or our much higher quality level of supply. So an achievable target for both areas. We've got a bit of liquidity to get through in between those two areas, but an achievable target nonetheless for LTC. So again, a lot of these altcoins, or a lot of these a lot of these charts in general are going to be forming a very similar pattern. We did have a movement down. We had a supply form on the way down. And of course, we are getting our bottoming, or, well, that's the idea. Our temporary bottom in, should I say that, unless we break through these levels again and head back to the mean, or back where we were before this dump occurred.
Beautiful. All right, reg market, let's get into it. Anything we share here when it comes to the reg market is purely just opinion and speculation. If you want more information on these regulated markets, have a chat to your licensed financial advisor.
Absolutely. So the DXY is something that we look at quite often. And of course, if you've been following our updates, it's something that we look at pretty much every single night. Again, we are sitting at this 90.60. We did have a bit of reaction to our steamroller indicator being in the oversold condition, as I did mention yesterday. We had a movement to our 00, as I did mention yesterday, at 90.25. So that was a good reaction off our steamroller. Of course, being a regulated market, we do have a lot of data and a lot of trends to go off. So steamroller working very, very nicely with that DXY. But in any case, if we do close above this level of demand again tonight, we could expect a movement to the upside again to retest this 90.25. But in all likelihood, we are still making lower highs as we are coming down. So unless we are making a different trend, so unless we are breaking this level, the bias is still to the downside and is still bearish regardless of. So if we are to come down and break through this level of demand, I'd be looking towards this level here, where I've got that nicely isolated there at 89.791. And of course, we do need to get a little bit of price action to the downside and eat through this level of demand before we do look at that level to the downside, to the lower end of the spectrum. But if you were to ask me, I think a more meaningful movement to the upside is more warranted, I should say. We do have a short-term level of supply at the 90.4 area. So that would be a more meaningful swing from this level of demand up to the short-term supply, and then a further continuation down. That would be my play for the DXY, over the next couple of nights, Ty, I think.
I like it, brother. I like it.
We'll see how we go.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, if you do like what we're doing here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and get the updates. The second that we post this, you see exactly what we're seeing. You trade just how we are trading, or showing you how we're trading at the time. And stay tuned. Tomorrow night, we're going to be releasing more information on Gravy Train, a really special announcement, and a very special giveaway for one lucky person as well. It really is like cheat codes for the market, having that indicator. It's really, it's a lot of fun. So stick around. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next update and tomorrow night for the Gravy Train info.
Take care, guys.